Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and we are doing one of the most important comparisons of the year. We are comparing Toyota's new Land Cruiser to Land Rover's new Defender. These are both cool, boxy, off-road luxury SUVs, and we're going to find out which one's the best. Before we get into this video, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to the Larry Miller Toyota here in Murray, Utah for giving me some time with this Land Cruiser. I'll include a link to the website in the description down below. If you have any questions or need any help, just ask for Josh. I'll also include a link to my car buying guide. Let's get into it. Powering the Land Cruiser is a turbo 2.4-liter four-cylinder that's paired to a hybrid and an 8-speed. It puts out 326 horsepower and then 465 pound-feet of torque, and average fuel economy is closer to the mid-20s with this hybrid Land Cruiser. Now, powering the Defender is a turbo 3-liter inline-6 mild hybrid, goes through an 8-speed automatic. Power outputs are 395 horsepower and then 406 pound-feet of torque, so more horsepower but less torque compared to the Land Cruiser. And then fuel economy, you're going to average in the low 20s, high teens depending on your driving, so a little bit less fuel economy too. I guess with the Defender you pay more money, but you also get hydraulic hood struts. Hey, having a traditional hood prop, reliable. Now, before we move forward with this comparison, I do want to mention if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. So taking a look at the front ends of both the vehicles, they have that cool boxy off-roader design, but there are some distinct differences. First off, with the headlights, this version of the Land Cruiser has these rectangular headlights. You can also get circular headlights. The Defender only has circular headlights, but notice that they're within a box, so that's kind of funny. And then something else to note with the Land Rover, you notice that we've got a lot of like brush trim or painted trim here on the front end. With the Land Cruiser, there are large elements that are painted, but you also have plastic trim here at the bottom, so it just gives it kind of like a different appearance overall. But yeah, I think both of them look great. They both have that cool boxy off-roader look that, well, everyone wants nowadays. Tire and wheel setup is very similar with these two models. 20-inch wheels on both of them, 255/60/20, 265/60/20, so very similar setup overall, except something to note, I think the Defender wheels, pretty cool looking, with that kind of like, it's not a steel wheel, but it has the appearance. And then you actually have all-terrain tires with this package, whereas the Land Cruiser's got more street tires, these 20-inch wheels. Now, the Land Cruiser can fit 18s, and then you can fit 33s. The Defender can fit 19s as the smallest wheel, unless you do a caliper conversion, and even then, you can't fit 33s without lifting it a little bit, so kind of a different setup there. And then independent suspension in the front, same thing with the Land Cruiser, but the Defender has air suspension, the Land Cruiser has fixed suspension. You see the Land Cruiser has side steps. When you have air suspension, you don't need side steps. They both have very square mirror caps. They almost look identical. That is crazy, the similarities with them. And then even like the pillars, again, the similarities are absolutely shocking with these vehicles. And then you can see here with the Land Cruiser how it's kind of got like the harsher edges, whereas with the Defender it's a little bit more rounded off there, so I guess it's a big difference. And then solid rear axle with the Land Cruiser, whereas the Defender is independent rear suspension. Now here's a side profile with the Land Cruiser, and it is a body-on-frame SUV. That's another important thing to note. And then here's a side view of the Defender in its unibody. Now popping out of the back of the Land Cruiser, you actually have the cool pop-up window that lets you access the cargo area, and then you just have a traditional hatch with the Land Cruiser, so that pops open just like that. Now the battery pack does rob a little bit of space there in the back in terms of cargo, but it's still massive. This is almost as big as a 200 series Land Cruiser. We've got an outlet here in the back. You've got the little storage space here as well. But yeah, I mean, you basically have traditional SUV practicality or modern SUV practicality with the power hatch and all of that. Whereas with the Defender, it's got a swing gate. So they've gone for the old school style, similar to a G-Wagon where it's all connected. Now you note that this has less storage space in the rear area. The Defender isn't all that different in terms of overall length to the Land Cruiser, but something to note is some of that length comes from the spare tire. But yeah, it's not bad for the storage space, but it's definitely shorter than the Land Cruiser, so that is something important to note. And yeah, spare tire in the back, that's why you got the swing gate. I will say that does look really cool with the boxy design, having the spare tire in the rear. The Land Cruiser still looks good on the rear end, but yeah, there's the backs. Now in the back of the Defender, legroom's good. Got a little storage pocket. We've got our own climate zone here in the rear with vents located at the bottom section. And then I love the door panel in the Defender, very stylized. You also have the Alpine windows there up top as well. And then you get these fancy leather seats perforated all down the center. Now in the back of the Land Cruiser, it actually is a little bit more cramped back here, so it looks like they've traded space where the Defender has more passenger space, less cargo, and then this is more cargo, less passenger. But it's not bad. You can see we still have our own little climate zone here in the back. And then nice materials on the door panel with this version of the Land Cruiser. And then you actually have vents up top. And then nice trim on the seats, perforated all down the center. Not quite as stylized as the Defender, but very nice place. And this leads us to the front of the Defender. So full digital gauge cluster there, which is pretty cool. And again, that same design on the door panel, very stylized, which adds to the fun of this. And very solid sounding with the door panel when you close it. But anyways, got a bunch of practical controls here, and I love the spoke design. Again, that's a big part of the Defender, is they kind of stylize everything quite a bit in here. And look at the dash too, same thing with this trim that goes across, and you can see the Defender logo there. Here, let me turn this down so it's not so obnoxious. But yeah, you can see all the physical controls here with the infotainment system. You can get a bigger screen than the Defender. This one just has the smaller one. But air suspension to adjust that. And this does come with a center and rear locking differential system if you get the off-road pack with it. This particular one, I'll check if it has it in just a second, but 360 camera system. So that's pretty cool. Now, if you want to check if your Defender has the locking diff package, it's actually really simple. Just go to the, is it the slope assist? I think it's the slope assist. Yep. So if you go to slope assist, it'll show you. And so basically, if it didn't have any locking diffs, it wouldn't show them on the diagram. But this has the center and the rear, and so it shows them on the diagram right there. And it's all automatic, so you don't have to do anything yourself. And then you can get a cool box. This one doesn't have it. And something I like about the Defender center console is this. It opens up like that all the way. It's pretty cool. Nice trim. The seats are really comfortable, really nice trim. You've got a camera rear view mirror with this as well, and then a big panoramic sunroof up top. As equipped, this one stickers for over $80,000 for the MSRP price. And let's start her up with the Toyota. Ooh, pretty cool with the animation there. Solid sound with the door too. Both of them have blind spot monitoring. I forgot to mention that with the Defender, but they both have blind spot monitoring. You can see here with the steering wheel, you've got a bunch of practical controls. You do have this kind of like more boxy airbag cover, but it's obviously less stylized than what you have in the Defender. And then full digital gauge cluster here. It'll focus on it. And you can see with the dash, it's just very squared off. It's almost like German in a way with how serious this interior is. But you've got 360 camera system, fills in underneath the vehicle just like the Defender. You'll notice a lot of the tech with both these vehicles is very similar because it looks like Toyota took the Defender as their baseline for the new Land Cruiser and new Lexus GX. But yeah, here's the infotainment system. And then we've got heated and ventilated seats. That version of the Defender only has heated seats, by the way, so that's another difference. Get your drive mode select. It's also going to come with multi-terrain. You're also going to have your crawl control with this as well. And then you can see here with the wireless phone charging pad and all of that. And you got like a more traditional shifter versus the Land Cruiser's like kind of like BMW-esque type shifter. It's bigger than a BMW one, but anywho, both of them have low range. This one obviously has the little toggle, whereas the Defender has the little button you press. And then the diffs are selectable in this by you. It's not the computer that does it. So they both have the same system in terms of center and rear lockers, but this one you select, and then this has a stabilizer bar disconnect, the Defender air suspension, so an independent suspension, so you're not really going to get that. Cool box in this, and you can see the nice trim here on the top, and then camera rear view mirror, and then we do have a just traditional sunroof. This as equipped is about $70,000 for the MSRP price, so over $10,000 less. So with that being said, let's take both of them out and sum things up. Well, Land Cruiser, quickly show you guys the visibility. That'll be an interesting comparison to make is visibility with both of these, but they both have the camera rear view mirrors, which help out substantially. So this isn't going to be a normal drive, but I have lived with the Lexus GX 550 for a week, and I've driven quite a few of these new Land Cruisers, so I have a pretty good idea of how this drives. But I'll show you guys at least a little bit here within the parameters that I currently have. What I will say is, seat's really comfortable with the Land Cruiser, and this drives a lot less truck-like compared to the previous gen Land Cruiser. So you guys can kind of see the torque here. Really good low end torque, really good low end torque. But yeah, it's still like a truck. Like going over the bump there, you've got that body on frame feel, and I really want to emphasize that because the Defender is unibody. So you still have that feel where you're separated. So when you go over big bumps, you don't feel the impact as much because it has to go from the frame into the cab. It's not all one unit. So that is a very important distinction. But yeah, great torque out of the engine. And in general, the new Land Cruiser drives really well. It's got really comfortable suspension. This doesn't have the active system that the GX has, but I'll just tell you, like in my personal experience driving both of them, there is a little bit of a difference, but unless you're driving back to back, it's not all that perceivable. If you get in the Land Cruiser, you get in the Lexus GX, you're gonna be like, both of these are comfortable. So overall, I think that Toyota is like single-handedly trying to snipe Land Rover with this Land Cruiser and GX offering, because what they're doing is they're offering a very similar package to that vehicle at substantially less money for the same amount of features. I mean, $70,000 barely buys you a Defender brand new, especially a full-size four-door with their 3-liter inline six. I mean, you're really not going to get that many features with that at that price point. If you want a Defender with similar options to what this has, so like cool box and all that stuff, if you built out an SE, you could build out an SE for about 80 grand and it would be similarly equipped to this. So Toyota's definitely playing the value card with this in terms of the options they're offering at the price point that they're offering. But let's quickly go pop into the Defender and then cap things off. So with the Defender visibility, it's really not all that much different. The Alpine windows do kind of lighten up the interior a bit, and I will say the Defender interior feels less cavernous compared to the Land Cruiser interior. It definitely just has a more open feel overall, and I think it feels bigger inside here. And you know, looking at them next to each other, the Defender does look a little bit wider, so yeah, it does seem like some of that comes inside. So unibody, going over the bumps, right, in the Land Cruiser you hear the sound in the frame. In this you hear it throughout the whole car because it's unibody, right? Everything in here, this little bump here will show too, it handles it just as well, but everything transfers through the unibody, so it's different. Turning radius is actually worse. Like the Defenders, they're both big SUVs, but yeah, the Defenders, it seems like, yeah, it just drives kind of bigger. Interesting. They both handle well. And this being unibody independent suspension, so it's going to have that more car-like handling. But they've really upped the ante on that Land Cruiser in terms of its drivability. Now this doesn't feel as torquey in the low end, but it's got quite a bit once you get up and move. So that's really impressive. Capping things off with this comparison, Defender versus Land Cruiser. I think this is actually more of an exciting comparison than the Lexus GX, because I understand the GX is supposed to be like the real direct competitor between with this, but the GX doesn't have the, like, these look like almost identical with the boxy styling, right? They both have the boxy front and back. The GX is kind of boxy in the back and kind of like Lexus pointed off in the front. But regardless, my thoughts, the Defender does feel more premium in a lot of places. Like when you open and close the door, for example, right? The Toyota still has that kind of hollow door sound, whereas this is just sturdy, right? And it's got that like solid feel. And then the interior feels a little bit more open. The Alpine windows, really cool to have. And so this does feel like a more premium vehicle. And so I think the best way to look at these two vehicles side by side, the Land Cruiser, you're getting features. So if you're a feature buyer, the Land Cruiser is objectively a better buy because you're getting more features for less money, and Toyota resale value is, well, historically quite a bit better than Land Rover resale value. So you also have that, like, you know, one of these Defenders brand new, 80 grand, you know, after a couple of years, this is going to be a $60,000 car on the used market. Because 2020, yeah, I just saw 2022 Defender with 85,000 MSRP. That's like a $65,000 car now. So you got that side of things. With the Defender, it does feel like a more premium car. It drives a little bit more premium, and the interior feels a bit more premium. It feels like more of an occasion, but there's a price to pay for that in terms of, well, like I said, resale value and then the upfront cost with it. And so I think the comparison that I personally would be making if I was looking at these two would almost be like a certified pre-owned Defender, because those have really good warranty, and then a Land Cruiser, because the pricing would be closer, and then it would be kind of like a which one to go for type situation. But let me know what you guys think, if you'd rather go Defender or Land Cruiser. But that's kind of my thoughts, is it's kind of like value options versus the kind of premium feel that the Defender has. And again, like I said, a little bit more exciting interior. This is a little more stylized. The Toyota is very, as weird as that sounds, very German. It's very serious.